Welcome back to Change of Address, my ongoing project to deliver all President's inaugural addresses in order leading up to January 20th, 2021. I'm Colin Rafferty, author of Execute the Office, Essays with Presidents. In his memoirs, Ulysses S. Grant says that he always regretted the final charge at Cold Harbor, that nothing was gained by it. He spends almost the entirety of his memoirs on his generalship and very, very little on his presidency, and that is maybe a pretty good indicator for how we think about him now. We think about him a lot as a general and very little as a president, and yet he served 2 consecutive terms. It's fascinating to think about what has happened in the 4 years since Lincoln's second inaugural. Lincoln is assassinated. Andrew Johnson, his vice president, takes the office. Andrew Johnson is impeached by radical Republicans. He avoids being convicted by 1 vote in the Senate. And then Ulysses S. Grant, the most popular man in certain portions of America, takes the office. So there's a lot going on here. One thing you might notice is that a lot of the previous addresses have discussed slavery as the kind of overweening issue in America. That's going to change because slavery is now illegal, unconstitutional even. And so we're going to move on to a different subject, which is money, and that's going to be discussed in Grant's first inaugural. So without further ado, here is Ulysses S. Grant's first inaugural address. Citizens of the United States. Hold up. How many addresses have we heard so far that have started with fellow citizens, right? And now here's Grant in the first address since the end of the Civil War, and he starts citizens of the United States, right? A reminder of what we went through. All right, I'll start. Citizens of the United States. Your suffrages having elected me to the office of President of the United States, I have, in conformity to the Constitution of our country, taken the oath of office prescribed therein. I have taken this oath without mental reservation, and with the determination to do the best of my ability all that is required of me. The responsibilities of the position I feel, but I accept them without fear. The office has come to me unsought. I commence its duties untrammeled. I bring to it a conscious desire and determination to fill it to the best of my ability to the satisfaction of the people. On all leading questions agitating the public mind, I will always express my views to Congress and urge them according to my judgment, and when I think it advisable, will exercise the constitutional privilege of interposing a veto to defeat measures which I oppose. But all laws will be faithfully executed, whether they meet my approval or not. I shall on all subjects have a policy to recommend, but none to enforce against the will of the people. Laws are to govern all alike, those opposed as well as those who favor them. I know no method to secure the repeal of bad or obnoxious laws so effective as their stringent execution. The country having just emerged from a great rebellion, many questions will come before it for settlement in the next 4 years which preceding administrations have never had to deal with. In meeting these, it is desirable that they should be approached calmly, without prejudice, hate, or sectional pride, remembering that the greatest good to the greatest number is the object to be attained. This requires security of person, property, and free religious and political opinion in every part of our common country, without regard to local prejudice. All laws to secure these ends will receive my best efforts for their enforcement. A great debt has been contracted in securing to us and our posterity the Union. The payment of this, principal and interest, as well as the return to a specie basis, as soon as it can be accomplished without material detriment to the debtor class or to the country at large, must be provided for. To protect the national honor, every dollar of government indebtedness should be paid in gold, unless otherwise expressly stipulated in the contract. Let it be understood that no repudiator of 1 farthing of our public debt will be trusted in public place, and it will go far towards strengthening a credit which ought to be the best in the world, and will ultimately enable us to replace the debt with bonds bearing less interest than we now pay. To this should be added a faithful collection of the revenue, a strict accountability to the Treasury for every dollar collected, and the greatest practicable retrenchment in expenditure in every department of government. When we compare the paying capacity of the country now with the 10 states in poverty from the effects of the war, but soon to emerge, I trust, into greater prosperity than ever before, with its paying capacity 25 years ago, and calculate what it probably will be 25 years hence, who can doubt the feasibility of paying every dollar then with more ease than we now pay for useless luxuries? Why, it looks as though Providence had bestowed upon us a strong box in the precious metals locked up in the sterile mountains of the far west, and which we are now forging the key to unlock to meet the very contingency that is now upon us. Ultimately, it may be necessary to ensure the facilities to reach these riches, and it may be necessary also that the general government should give its aid to secure this access. but that should only be when a dollar of obligation to pay secures precisely the same sort of dollar to use now, and not before. Whilst the question of specie payments is in abeyance, the prudent businessman is careful about contracting debts payable in the distant future. The nation should follow the same rule. A prostrate commerce is to be rebuilt and all industries encouraged. The young men of the country, those who from their age must be its rulers 25 years from hence, have a peculiar interest in maintaining the national honor. A moment's reflection as to what will be our commanding influence among the nations of the earth in their day, if they are only true to themselves, should inspire them with national pride. All divisions, geographical, political, and religious, can join in this common sentiment. How the public debt is to be paid or species payments resumed is not so important as that a plan should be adopted and acquiesced in. A united determination to do is worth more than divided counsels upon the method of doing. Legislation upon this subject may not be necessary now, or even advisable, but it will be when the civil law is more fully restored in all parts of the country and trade resumes its wonted channels. It will be my endeavor to execute all laws in good faith, to collect all revenues assessed, and to have them properly accounted for and economically dispersed. I will, to the best of my ability, appoint to office those only who will carry out this design. In regard to foreign policy, I would deal with nations as equitable law requires individuals to deal with each other, and I would protect the law-abiding citizen, whether of native or foreign birth, wherever his rights are jeopardized or the flag of our country floats. I would respect the rights of all nations, demanding equal respect for our own. If others depart from this rule in their dealings with us, we may be compelled to follow their precedent. The proper treatment of the original occupants of this land, the Indians, is one deserving of careful study. I will favor any course toward them which tends to their cultivation and ultimate citizenship. The question of suffrage is one which is likely to agitate the public so long as a portion of the citizens of the nation are excluded from its privileges in any state. It seems to me very desirable that this question should be settled now, and I entertain the hope and express the desire that it may be by the ratification of the 15th article of amendment to the Constitution. In conclusion, I ask patient forbearance one toward another throughout the land, and a determined effort on the part of every citizen to do his share toward cementing a happy union, and I ask the prayers of this nation to Almighty God in behalf of this consummation. Ulysses S. Grant's first inaugural address, delivered just 4 years after the end of the Civil War. He is reelected. Like I said, he's the only president between Jackson and Woodrow Wilson who serves 2 full consecutive terms. And so we'll pick up tomorrow with his second inaugural address. So, thanks for tuning in. Feel free to like and subscribe and comment, and I will see you tomorrow.